Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jedi Knights, the official podcast for Star Wars on JoyClicks. I'm your moderator, Christian Buckley, joined across the HoloNet, as always, by my Chewie, Mike Connors.
Thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure. What episode is this again?
This is episode 37.
I was like, how close are we to 40? This has been going on for a while now.
Yeah, we're getting close. We're getting up there.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing all right. Star Wars, we're in that period where there really is not a lot for Star Wars right now. But there's still some stuff that's like, there's just enough and it's deep enough to keep me satisfied. But we're definitely not anywhere close to getting like a new season of Mando yet, or a new trailer for Mando even. But there's some stuff to talk about today. We got a lot of rumors, got some new merch. A little tease at the High Republic, as well as a new video game, a new look at this video game.
There's so much to talk about. I didn't think that we'd have so much to talk about here in the middle of summer. Yeah, basically. So it's a blessing.
Absolutely. But before we get to that, we are going to start with our opening segment from the Jedi Archives, where every week Mike and I go over to the old Wikipedia, pull an article, give a little recap of said article, and help to educate the listeners and each other in the immense depth that is the lore of Star Wars.
Seriously, it's extremely expansive. Mm-hmm. I think you went the last time, correct?
I think so. So
first,
you
went first the last time. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'll go first this time. So I chose Ula, the green Twi'lek slave dancer in Jabba the Hutt's palace in episode 6.
Okay.
So she's the one who tries to get like pulled closer to Jabba, but like struggles, and then he drops her through the trapdoor into like the Rancor.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she was born on Ryloth. She was 1.6 meters tall, in case you ever wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
She was born to a clan chieftain on Ryloth, and she devoted herself to dancing.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
The world of dancing in Star Wars is interesting because I learned probably a while back, and I actually messed with not specifically this option, but the game. A while back, I heard about this thing, Star Wars Galaxies, where you could roleplay an occupation in the world of Star Wars, like bounty hunter, Jedi. Some people were dancers. They just went to the cantina and danced.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. There's a ton of lore there.
There is a lot of lore in the dancing world. Mm-hmm. Whether you're Ula or like, I don't know, Size Snoodles maybe.
Yeah.
She doesn't really dance. All right, what's yours?
Mine is a favorite that was Legends, is now canon thanks to the Clone Wars.
Okay.
And that is Delta Squad. Mike, are you familiar?
Right. Not really. No.
Delta Squad was a military unit of the Grand Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars. The squad consisted of 4 clone commandos, Boss, Fixer, Scorch, and Sev, who on occasion retrieved the bodies of Jedi Masters and Padawans. So Delta Squadron originated in the 2005 Star Wars video game Republic Commando, which
I never played.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I never played it fully. Played it at a buddy's house once. A lot of fun. You got like a Band of Brothers vibes. There's all 4 of them, all the clones going through. There's a Geonosis map. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
And they were brought into canon at the request of Dave Filoni in the episode... Where is it? Come on, Dave. Where is it?
Come on.
The Witches of the Mist arc.
Okay.
The whole like Son of Dathomir sort of thing.
Did we watch that? We definitely did.
Yeah, we did for sure.
Yeah, we definitely watched this one.
Mm-hmm. So, pretty interesting. Cool. I like how the Clone Commandos look. They got like a definite video game origin vibe to them, but I think they're cool for all the different SKUs of clones that there are.
I guess the question really is Delta Squad or Bad Batch?
You see, the Bad Batch, I think, is the new Delta Squad, because I want a video game about the Bad Batch. Badly.
Yeah, same, honestly.
Yeah. It just...
Oh,
Go ahead.
Oh, what? No, say what you're going to say.
I was gonna say, it just works so well. Like, they all have their unique little powers and stuff that you can, like, each have a class. It just makes so much sense.
You're definitely right. And I didn't realize that Delta Squad came from something in Legends, too. Or perhaps it was just, like, more fleshed out in Legends.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
And fun fact, there's a sequel novel that follows up the game, also Legends now, but it's about them when they were serving the Empire.
Oh, interesting. Is it Legends or is it?
It's Legends, yeah. I don't think it was canonized by them being brought in, because in the game, the only difference I think is when were brought into the show, their call signs are different, but their names are the same. So like, there's some tweaks that were made. So
okay, interesting. Well,
yeah.
That's cool.
Definitely. So that is your Jedi Archive recap for the week. We will continue next week, educating everybody. But
it's a good little segment that we got going on.
I love it. I always love hearing your pick.
Same. I like hearing what you have to show.
We touched on video games a bit, so why don't we open with the biggest news of the week? Star Wars Squadrons got its debut gameplay reveal. Got tons of information about it at EA Play last week. Worth mentioning, there were no other Star Wars games announced at this. We were speculating that maybe Gary Whitta was working on a project that was going to get dropped there. I think, Mike, last week you theorized that maybe the Gary Whitta tweet was about him working on the sequel to From a Certain Point of View.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I think I was wrong to think that they would do so much. I think I predicted that they'd also like announce that Battlefront was crossplay.
Yeah,
which was like wrong.
Well, it's not super wrong because like that. I was talking to our friend Jack Martin about it. We did a live reactions to the entire conference, and the theme of the whole show was crossplay. And I thought we were building towards crossplay. They were like, Battlefield next one, crossplay. Apex Legends, crossplay this fall. FIFA Madden, crossplay. And Squadrons even, which we're about to talk about, is going to have crossplay at launch. So
that's incredible.
Maybe Battlefront 3. Maybe that's when we get crossplay, you know?
I mean, yeah, dude, I would easily buy Battlefront 3, by the way.
Oh, for sure. Because you have to imagine with the progression they've been doing that it's going to rhyme with the original development, that we are finally going to be able to just hop on a ship and fly into a space battle from a ground battle. It's going to be great.
Yeah, they should do it.
So what we did get at this event was information about the $40 title coming on October 2nd, 2020 to PS4, Xbox One, PC. Like I mentioned, it's going to have crossplay. It will be fully playable in every single mode you can think of in PSVR and other VR headsets, which I love. That's exciting for me as a VR fan.
Definitely.
And they have a really interesting presentation because it was definitely the longest highlight of that whole show. And I think it worked well to sell that game. Like, I feel like that game was the big push for that entire event. So that did elevate it, I think, personally.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that the presentation that they had, the EA Play, that's what it's called, right? EA Play. Yeah, I feel like that. I don't know if you said that. Someone said that on Twitter, but like that method of like showing a game should be like the industry standard. Like it just explained everything. It was pretty. It looked cool, man.
Yeah, it did. We do have a little more fleshed out about the story elements. As we talked about last week, I know Mitch Dyer, who worked on the story for Battlefront 2, is working on the story for this. And the story approach is going to be sort of what we were expecting, of like popping back and forth between the Empire and the New Republic. But at the start of the game, you get to create your own pilot for each faction. So you're going to have a variety of options for character customization. Don't know how many races are going to be available. I'm assuming the ones you expect from Star Wars species are going to be available. Maybe the Empire would be a bit more limited because of their racism that we've all become aware of.
Yeah.
But I guess starting there, Mike, having the story be focused on your character, who may or may not be nameless, maybe they just call him Rookie or something the whole time or what, but does that move the needle for you at all in terms of being able to play both sides through the same campaign, or where are you at there?
Well, I mean, I think not just like one thing moves the needle for me, because the needle has definitely moved. I was kind of skeptical of this game. Like, I think we talked about it last week, and yeah, I mean, like watching all of this like makes it sound more interesting. Like, I think as a whole, like seeing that you have to play it like through the HUD and like that adds a little bit to it as well. Knowing that about the campaign, I think is like interesting because I actually liked Battlefront 2's campaign. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm like more likely to buy this than I was before.
Yeah, and I think they did a really good job, like you brought up, showcasing what the game is, what to expect from it, and I think telling the story this perspective is going to be cool. Obviously, expectations for me at least are 6 hours or less probably for the main story, which
is kind of a bummer actually.
I mean, for me personally, I don't mind because I see this game more so as like there's a cool story. Maybe you can do some challenge missions, and then it's all about the multiplayer.
I feel like the multiplayer really has to be like interesting though. Like they have to have like a lot of different settings and like the thing that like worries me is that there are only like 4 types of starships like per side.
Yeah.
So like I don't know like at what point like does the variety like the change stop? Like how much can you like personalize and like upgrade and stuff?
Well, it's interesting you say that because looking back to the whole Battlefront 2 controversy where it was like, you wouldn't want to run around as a pink Darth Vader, like that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
In the trailer, they showcase customizing your ships, and they had like a hot pink, like pinky red kind of TIE fighter. So I do think we're probably going to have a lot of flexibility, at least, to make the ships customizable. Don't know how much that would affect your character. I kind of inferred this. This is just speculation on my part based on the way they showed the game and talked about planning a strike before you ship out with your squad.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like we might be able to roam around our like fleet ship, whatever it's called, the lead ship of the fleet, command ship,
the capital ship.
Yeah. It looks like from the camera moving around certain ways and the way they were talking about planning before you head out, it looked like you'd be able to, from a first-person perspective, walk around, talk to like the port master, go to your ship, physically walk over to it, and like select the mechanic to customize it and all that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, it seemed like they had that like you can like gather with your team before the mission starts and like walk around and stuff in the trailer. So yeah, it seems interesting to me. I wonder like how much you can explore of it though. Maybe it'll be limited. I don't know.
Yeah. Regardless, I think something like that is cool, and that will add to it for me as someone who just appreciates the small details and like stuff that people would just run by in that sort of environment, I guess.
Yeah.
And the gameplay, I thought looked really solid. It looked like an improvement over Battlefront 2, which I already liked, but this looks way tighter. Like, some of the turns that people were making looked like you could turn on a dime, which I think is a huge plus.
Some of those turns looked intense, man. Like, playing this game in VR is going to be crazy.
I know.
Like, that's craziness, man. But, yeah, like, the thing is like, I don't really like Battlefront 2's flying that much.
Yeah.
So this seems good because it's definitely something new on that. So it makes me more excited for it.
Yeah, I think if they took Battlefront 2 as like a baseline, and then we're like, okay, now if this is this game's thing, how do we make it perfect? Like, since it was Motive and they did support work on Battlefront 2, I assume that's how it started, but it definitely looks different.
No, it definitely looks different, and you know what? Like honestly, the fact that it is first person and like in the cockpit, what do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about that?
So in Battlefront 2, I like being third person just because of the way I feel like you have an advantage even on like boots on the ground. I feel like third person you have an advantage.
Yeah, I play Battlefront 2 third person as well.
Yeah, me too. Um,
That's the way the OG one was.
yeah, I think you could still switch in the OG, but I always rocked third person in those.
I always did the third person in the old one. So,
But I think making the choice to have the entire game for everyone be locked into first person, I don't care. Like, as long as there's other people that don't have an advantage over me by being able to go third person, I'm cool with it. I'll get used to it. And
yeah.
especially for VR, having it first person, that's key. And the fact that they designed it with that in mind, I think will just make the VR experience even better.
Definitely. I mean, I think honestly, I don't think there is a third person option. Otherwise, they would have shown that.
Yeah, I don't think there is. It seems like it is first person only.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe there is, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool. Like, I think it actually adds like a layer of difficulty to the game.
Yeah.
And if everybody's on that, if everybody's like has to go through first person and like learn that, it's like a learning curve everybody kind of has to go through, and also the fact that all the instruments are there too, and you have to like make sure that you're watching those.
Yeah, that's sick.
So like that's really cool, and like that adds a layer of like complexity to the game that Battlefront 2 definitely doesn't have.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up the approach of everybody having to adjust to that too, because in the presentation they made it a point to say that you can play multiplayer after you've tried the campaign. So I think the campaign is sort of going to act as a tutorial to adjust you to the like how shooting works, what all the instruments do, to really like ease you in and get you accustomed to how this specific game tackles flight, shooting, and combat in a first-person spaceship, which I think is a plus. I'm sure there's people that are going to be upset they can't just dive straight into multiplayer, but like
honestly, I'd probably prefer that.
Yeah, like
because I'm not going to know how this works, and like, yeah, I'm going to get creamed if I try to go play multiplayer.
Yeah, so I think that's personally a good touch. I think that's better than having to do just like a 10-minute training sequence that doesn't have any context around it. Like, I'd prefer to do it in the story, and hey, who knows, forcing you to do that, maybe the story has a real cool hook, and it's like, oh, maybe I will see the story to the end. You know?
I mean, if it's gonna be short, then maybe you're gonna be so interested that you'll just do that.
Yeah, who knows? And the last sort of confirmation we have about it are the multiplayer modes. So
these seem really cool.
Yeah, there's 2 confirmed so far. The first one is your standard instant action type deal. It's called Dogfight.
It's like 5v5, right?
5v5, yeah. On the Star Wars Squadrons website, it says, the mission is simple, but the execution requires skill. Fine-tune your loadouts for speed and accuracy, compose your squadron with different starfighter classes, and eliminate the enemy to claim your glory. Which, yeah, I think the whole 5v5 thing is interesting. It's probably gonna... I think there could maybe be some potential for like a competitive gaming scene from this.
Maybe.
Yeah. Nothing major. Nothing Overwatch level, but like maybe Siege level?
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. I guess like we'll have to see exactly like how... I don't know, like how complex it is, because I know that there are all those like power-ups and stuff, and like we'll have to see how balanced those are in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a potential for Siege level competitiveness. I see that.
Because everything we've been talking about so far, I do think this game will appeal to a wide group of people, probably bigger than some people are expecting. Like, there's you and me who are looking at it for different reasons. Me, Star Wars fan, love VR, would love to experience a game like this in VR. You, from all the reasons you're saying, the way you're turning around on it, how it has its hooks in you kind of now, really interesting choices. But I'm sure there's other Star Wars fans that are in either of our boats right now.
Definitely.
But you also have the people who love flight sims, like real nitty-gritty flight sim stuff. this is probably straight up for them of like, hey, I can play a flight sim that's a Star Wars game. That's cool, you know?
Definitely. I mean, I think it just looks really hard, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how hard it is, because Star Wars games have a tendency to like not actually be that hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just seems like, difficult to get control over, but something you got to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to try it.
Yeah.
Try it out.
Mm-hmm. And the other mode that will be available at launch, at least, I don't know how they'll expand this over time, if they will, but fleet battles. Now, fleet battles are essentially this game's capital supremacy, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
The description we have here is, unite your squadron online or play against bots to tip the scales in monumental fleet battles, a multi-stage objective-based contest between 2 squadrons of 5. Advance the front line by dominating the enemy in intense dogfights, and carry out bombing runs to take out capital ships, protecting your ultimate goal, the destruction of the massive enemy flagship.
Interesting.
Yeah. And...
Well...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, say what you're going to say?
I was just going to say, from what they showed of this, it also gave me flashbacks to, again, OG Battlefront 2, the space battles of having to take out, like, the shield generator and then the weapons and the bridge and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, honestly, I wish that there was, like, the ending to this battle was, like, you actually had to land into the enemy ship.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that would be, like, some serious Battlefront 2, like, nostalgia points right there. If you had to, like, land into the enemy ship
mm-hmm.
and destroy it from the inside.
Yeah, that was my favorite mode in the old one, so...
Oh, for sure, yeah. I just wish that was in this game.
Yeah, well, maybe Battlefront 3,
Maybe. Who knows?
Overall, though, I think it was a good showing. Sounds like it turned you around.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, honestly, the price point makes it, like, really sells it. Because,
mm-hmm.
like, it's not, like, trying to get more out of you than it actually is.
Yeah. And I think if it does feel good to play, I know for me, at least with VR, it's going to be something that I will come back to. It's not something I'm just going to play for a weekend and then put down after I have my fill,
Definitely. I mean, this is, like, something that maybe would make me consider getting VR.
Yeah. So, I'm sure there are many people like you.
I'm sure, yeah.
Before we move on to other news, there is one little update about another Star Wars video game. Episode 1 Pod Racer is available now on the Switch, and probably PS4 and Xbox.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Did you ever play the OG Pod Racer?
I believe I did. I think I had it on the Game Boy Advance, maybe, which
cool.
I'm not sure counts, but
I'll count it.
All right. Did you?
I think if there was an N64 Pod Racer, I think I tried that one once or twice.
Well, if there is, I count it.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
But yeah, that's kind of cool. I like how they're putting all the games in the Nintendo Switch, actually.
Yeah,
every single time they do, it makes me want to get one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Maybe one of these days I certainly will. Especially since Apex Legends is coming to the Switch. Though, yeah. I don't know how it's going to run on that.
I don't either. Apex on my PS4 is like 55 gigs or something, and the Switch internal storage is 32. So,
yeah,
curious.
I don't know. Me too.
But we have Mike. You just brought up a video game trying to sell you on the Switch, right? There's another video game I know that you want to have a Switch by the time this comes out, and that is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. You know what? Well, it's gonna happen sometime soon, Christian. Yeah. I have to be honest with you.
So
that's coming out this year, man.
It is. It's October.
I know. What day in October?
I want to say the 20th.
Oh my gosh, too sure. It's like right near my birthday.
Ooh, very nice. That is just a perfect drop for you. But what we got this week for adjacent news to that game is that LEGO is releasing a huge new line. So, like reprints of some old stuff, redesigns of some old stuff. Big push for LEGO Star Wars stuff. And each set is going to give you a code that you can enter in to the game and unlock fun new things for you in the game that are related to the set you bought.
Interesting. That's very cool.
Yeah.
And very clever on the part of LEGO.
Yeah. It's like, do you remember when everybody was trying to do those like Toys to Life games?
No.
Like you bought a figure and you scan the figure and then the figure shows up in the game. There was like the Activision one, like
yeah.
Skylanders. Lego did one. It was Lego Dimensions.
Oh, Disney did one too?
Yep, Disney Infinity.
Yeah.
Kind of like shades of that, but I feel like this is just better, you know? Because like it's an actual Lego set and it gives you a code instead of an actual, like a weird Lego with some like chip inside of it that you can't really move much.
It's definitely different because like the point of Disney Infinity was like you had to go buy like the things in person.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's not the point of Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga.
Right.
That's just a video game. These are just the extra things you could do.
Yeah. So
which I think makes it work.
Yeah, I think this is probably the better like result of that idea, honestly.
Yeah, like it went through its evolutions.
Yeah.
This is its final form.
Mm-hmm. So there's some pretty cool sets. There's some that I'm eyeing, honestly. There's a fun little holiday one where like everybody's in festive sweaters, like Darth Vader's in a red sweater, Dio has a Santa hat on, Poe Dameron has a BB-8 sweater on.
Well, that's cute.
Yeah, that's a fun one. But
you can get Anakin's Jedi Interceptor.
Mike, that is one that I have on a separate tab.
Oh my god, sorry to just blow up the spot, Christian, but
no.
cool.
I mean, this is one I'm gonna buy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's only $30.
I know.
That's pretty good.
It looks so cool.
It does, because like I always loved the design of the Jedi starfighters from Episode 3.
Yeah.
Because like the ones in 2 are fine, but they look like pizza, you know.
Yeah.
The interceptors though in 3 that we see at the beginning of that movie, I love. So
they're kind of like TIE fighters in a way.
Yeah, and I think when we rewatched Revenge of the Sith for the show, I'm pretty sure that's the first time that clicked for me. It was like, oh, natural progression. This evolved into a TIE fighter. That's cool.
I think eventually it did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the Razor Crest is only $130, man.
Yeah, that's the other one I was eyeing as well.
That's like a steal, I feel.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good, dude. And you unlock it in the game. That's cool.
I know. That's freaking cool, man.
Yeah, so like if I can buy that ship, enter that code, and get access to the Razor Crest and Mando early and play through the whole game as Mando, might buy it.
Might buy it.
I just might.
That's how they get you, man.
Oh,
they
yeah.
just got $100 out of you.
Like 160, because I might buy the Anakin ship too. That's pretty sick.
They're gonna get so much more money out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, and I might do it too.
Yeah,
and that's what it's all about, baby.
Absolutely. Half the cost of being a Star Wars fan is dropping money on things you don't need.
Exactly.
But yeah, there's a bunch of other cool sets. I recommend looking at the full list on LEGO's website. They got like the AT-AT that Luke takes down that's 160. A couple other ones as well, some classics. We got something from the Siege of Mandalore arc. We got Ahsoka and one of the droid tanks. So
cool.
There's some cool stuff.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I dig it.
Me too. You know what else I dig?
What's that?
The acclaimed series, Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Oh, I dig it too. We talked a long time about that.
We did for several months.
We did.
And Mike, what if I told you that there's some disturbance in the Force right now? We got rumors about a ton of stuff coming out of Lucasfilm Animation.
All right.
If you want, I can dive straight into it.
Just dive straight into it. I'm like on the edge of my seat.
Okay. So I'm pulling this right up from Star Wars Newsnet. They have a nice little recap of a lot of the rumors about what's coming for Star Wars animation.
God bless Star Wars Newsnet.
So great. The site chugs on my laptop sometimes, but it's so great.
Yeah.
So earlier this year, there were rumors that there's going to be a follow-up series to Star Wars Rebels that would sort of be a hybrid between the animation style of Rebels and Clone Wars and have a lot of the production values of the Siege of Mandalore arc, right? And I feel like that was pretty much accepted as the next series from a lot of people. It came up enough times that it sounded like it was just waiting for an announcement to be true, right?
Right, yeah.
So it looks like there's going to be another series that may or may not be a direct follow-up to where we leave off with Ahsoka and Rex at the end of the Clone Wars.
I dig it.
Specifically, from the podcast team at the Kessel Run Transmissions, there's some rumors, some insider knowledge going around that Noah Corey has. And they were tweeting that, first, Lucasfilm Animation Department is very busy. That was on June 9th.
Okay.
Someone responded, is it on the Rebels sequel? Noah responded, and then some. Okay.
All right.
Then Lucasfilm, or the original tweet about Lucasfilm Animation being very busy was quote tweeted by a co-host of that podcast, and they used a GIF of just a GIF of the clones. It was a GIF of Rex putting his helmet back on, walking with his squad. And then we got one more follow-up on this original tweet with the co-host. Is there a chance they're making a show continuing the adventures of Rex/Ahsoka directly after Clone Wars? The co-host responded with a gif of Yoda saying, "Sent it strongly, I do." So,
all right.
Obviously, grain of salt for the whole thing.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. So, perhaps a Star Wars Rebel sequel. So that seems to be the first thing that you read, right?
Yeah. So the Rebels sequel is the one that's been rumored a lot more heavily, following up the cliffhanger, I guess, of Rebels and what story that teases to continue. So I guess with you as the person who has seen Rebels, seeing more steam and smoke come out about a Rebels follow-up potentially being announced this year, what does that do for you?
I mean, I feel like that's probably what should happen, because the ending of Rebels kind of ends in a very cliffhangery way, with one of my favorite Star Wars characters involved, Thrawn. And so I kind of want to see the conclusion of that, and that makes me extremely excited for what's to come. And I think, Disney Plus, they have a good platform to put something like that out.
Yeah. I do think doing a Rebels follow-up makes sense off the mostly positive reception of Season 7 of Clone Wars. And just, like, how you flooded people to watch the Clone Wars, right? Like, we're not alone in rewatching that whole series or for the first time.
Definitely not.
Left and right, I was seeing people do that.
Yeah.
So to do that again, but for Rebels, I think will, one, just make the streaming service continue to be healthy and, like, get people to sub for old content to prep for new content and, like, keep that sub up.
Definitely.
So
that's actually super smart.
Yeah, right? Like, it makes so much sense. Even if it's just a single series or a single season to wrap up these loose ends, it makes so much sense, right? It's like you have a resource right there that you can mine just a little more. And I think that wasn't there a Filoni quote about leaving people wanting more still and not just, like, continuing forever? I think it was in reference to Season 7 being the end of the Clone Wars.
Well, I mean, if Dave Filoni's got anything down, it's how to leave people wanting more.
Yeah, so.
Honestly.
That's what's interesting about the other series that we're kicking around here this week. Because you and I think, are on the same page where leaving off with Season 7, we wanted more, but it had a cool, solid ending, right?
It did have a cool, solid ending, but the thing is that we know that these characters live longer than this. So it would be interesting to explore that interim period. I'm sure there are a lot of cool stories that they can tell.
Yeah, because I don't know.
Also, I think Ahsoka has a lot to, like. She's got a lot to, like, chew on, man. Like, what does that do to a person?
I'd love to see that explored.
And I think that this is the perfect opportunity to explore it, and they're going to do it.
So the next time Ahsoka shows up in canon is like 15 years later, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because she shows up again in Rebels, and that's the first time in the canon since the end of 7.
Yeah, but like by then she's like a badass.
Right. So also interesting that we are potentially getting a series about Ahsoka and Rex, when Ahsoka and Rex are most likely going to be in Mando season 2 and set up the live action Ahsoka series.
Right.
So if we get Ahsoka on both fronts to explore more of like what makes the character evolve from Clone Wars to Rebels, hype, and then seeing a live action version of her following up episode 6 as well could be really cool. So
Definitely. I think that this is one of the most inherently interesting periods of her life to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything just collapsed around her, like within like a blink of an eye, and she has to like process all of it and like figure out what to do.
Yeah,
I think that's super cool, and like, yeah, I don't know. I think they'd be foolish not to go that route. Because I definitely watch it.
Same. And you and I talk a lot about whenever it was being kicked around about like, okay, so do we leave the Skywalker saga now? How much longer do we stick around for? Because they're definitely not going to walk away anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think exploring that continually, like still fleshing out that period of time through the perspective of Ahsoka is probably a good call. Like, there's already so much love for that character right now that there's still so much new that we can explore with her in different eras we're already familiar with, right? Like, we don't know how she reacts to the hunting of the remaining Jedi. We don't know what it's like to see her witness the fall of the Empire. Like,
yeah, like that. All that stuff happens like episode like 3 of the Siege of Mandalore, and then like it's over.
Yeah.
So
I think if we continue to do it that way, obviously we're still getting like Cassian and Kenobi, but I think if we want to continue outside of just doing maybe a one-off season about characters like Kenobi, we do continue with Ahsoka, you know, because I think it's a nice happy medium of new and old.
Definitely.
So,
you know what I was thinking about?
What's up?
So like during Return of the Jedi, like where is Ahsoka? And like some of the other remaining Jedi.
It's a good point.
Like, couldn't they help Luke out?
Yeah, honestly, that would have been. I mean, I know we didn't know about Ahsoka back then, but that would be cool.
I'm just saying, where are they?
Yeah, maybe there's another siege of a different planet she had to be on. You know?
That would be cool.
What if she was like on Coruscant?
Oh wow.
What if we get like the rebellion of Coruscant through the perspective of her in episode 6, like we were gonna get on episode 9?
That's true. I mean, it would be weird though, because like episode 6 made you believe that Luke was really the last Jedi.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's fair. But before we get any Ahsoka content coming up outside of her cameo in Mando, we're probably gonna get at least a look at the Kenobi series.
This year?
No, I mean like before her appearance in Mando aside, before we get her full-blown show or before we get her animated show, we're probably going to get a look at it, Kenobi at least, right?
Yeah, probably. I would say so.
Because we have some Kenobi information today.
Yeah.
Continuing on the Disney Plus train. Ewan McGregor was interviewed about about his series on Disney Plus, and there are 2 nuggets that I saw appear in a lot of headlines this week. First up, I think the real news here. They're going to be using the same tech that Mandalorian uses for its like 360 screen sets.
Yeah, that is the real news here. I know what the other piece of news is, and that is the real news.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's amazing because that technology is so cool.
Yeah.
And it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
So, good to see that they're putting it to use.
Yeah, and we did get a look already at Tatooine in Mando Season 1, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. It looked really good in Mando, and I'm sure it'll look really great in Kenobi.
Yeah. So, uh, obviously, in terms of production, we're not there yet, but
No.
at least knowing that that's the avenue they're going to be taking, and based on that, probably we can assume that the Ahsoka show and Cassian will do that as well.
Why not, right?
Yeah, good news, I think, because it saves you from having a lot of like risky looking CG, I think, because everything on that screen set, to me at least, looked seamless. Like, I think there were elements of stuff that might have looked out of place, but I never thought it was the background, you know? I didn't even know about the screen background until way after the fact.
Yeah, I seriously had no idea that was the technology that they were using. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it looked great to me. I had no complaints, and I think that they should use it more because it's probably really expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you referenced, the other piece of quote-unquote news we have about Kenobi is that, according to an interview, Ewan McGregor is going to enjoy filming Kenobi more than the prequels.
What's the real quote here? Do you have that?
I can pull it, but I think it was basically the fact that we don't have blue screens.
Oh, okay.
You know?
All right.
Like, it's kind of tied into the fact they're using these screen sets, so that's probably, as an actor at least, a little easier to get you into the role, you know? Like, I know a good actor can work on a green screen, and it's a miracle that some of them can, because, like, if you watch behind-the-scenes stuff, I don't blame Ian McKellen for breaking down on the set of The Hobbit.
Honestly, yeah, and I think Ewan McGregor, he kind of handled it well. I mean, I watched a lot of the behind the scenes for the prequels and stuff. It seemed like he just didn't think about it.
Yeah. And
certainly his performances were pretty good.
Yeah. So, like, just having even more immersion on set, I feel like is going to be a lot better. The direct quote he has is, "I'm just going to enjoy it all much more. The prequels were quite technically complicated, I remember. It was all blue screen and green screen. It was hard to imagine it, but nowadays things have moved on so much, and I think a lot of what you see is going to be what we see on the set. I think it's going to feel realer for us, the actors." So
that's cool. Good for them.
Mm-hmm. Anything to make the show better, I'll take, you know?
He'll probably have better dialogue, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to. I can't wait to see that show, man. That's like everything I ever wanted.
Same. Like, they broke Twitter when they dropped the news that they're actually doing it. So I think we get one more thing like that, and it's when they show him aged up. You know, like whenever they post that picture, that will also shut down Twitter.
Do you think we'll see anything like visually from that anytime soon?
I think we could see like a camera screen test of him in like a costume with some Alec Guinnessified makeup, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably likely. I think we're going to get at least some visual about that before the end of this year.
I think so too. I feel like that, like, at Celebration, the solid info probably would have been maybe some new video games being brought to new current consoles, maybe the sequel series, maybe we get a trailer for Mando, and then we get a image of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, and then it's like, we got one more thing for you, see you in a year or two, but look at Ewan McGregor, he looks just like Alec Guinness now. Like, that seems like something they'd fit in there, you know?
I feel like Ewan McGregor is like the perfect age for it right now.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because he can definitely carry that like cadence and regal vibe that Guinness has as Obi-Wan. But I also, I think earlier this year, which is wild, it was this year, I saw him in Birds of Prey. He was very spry still. Very... I could see him swirling around a lightsaber in this if they needed him to, because he can pull off probably any age he wants right now.
Honestly, man, I think he's gonna be doing some crazy lightsaber stuff. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he signed on for this so he could flex those skills again.
Yeah, I mean, they had to slow down him and Ray Park for the movie.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. So, definitely excited to see what progress we get on that series throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what else we got coming out later this year? Or Actually, no, it got delayed to next year, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
So the High Republic. The High Republic was the big initiative that was announced earlier this year as a publishing effort from Star Wars, Disney, and Del Rey.
Project Luminous.
Project Luminous, yes. We now know that it is a series of books and comics that are going to be fleshing out this new history of Star Wars we haven't explored yet that falls between the Old Republic from the games and the Republic we know from the prequels.
Right. It's now, like, what, 400 years before the prequels, right?
Yeah, so, like, Yoda's alive. I think he's, like, 500 at that point. Okay. So we're still relatively close, all things considered, to the prequel era, but pretty far away from the Old Republic, where there was the Great Sith Army and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So today, actually, I believe, Del Rey approved the release of Chapter 1 from Charles Soule's novel that's going to kick off this whole thing, called
Jedi.
The Light of the Jedi, yes. Now, both of us read this, Chapter 1.
I did.
It's not super long.
It's not really that long, no.
General
it seems more like a prologue to me.
Yeah, like, I wonder if this is setting up a character, if it's setting up, like, a vignette type way to tell a story, or if this is going to have greater implications for stuff that continues on throughout the novel.
Right.
But basically what happens is we are put in the perspective of a captain of this ship who is very historied in her experience as a pilot.
Yeah, it says she was a pilot for, like, multiple decades.
Mm-hmm. And I really liked the way they talked about the ship, because the ship is, like, this weird amalgamation of, like, a smuggler ship and then, like, a freighter and a commercial transport.
Yeah, it's like, you get the impression that's, like, pretty big.
Mm-hmm. And it's got, like, a Citadel vibe to it also, because, like, there's families on board, there are people traveling, there's kids running around.
Yeah, some, like, 9,000 people or something like that.
Yeah, so it's definitely cool to see, and I don't think we've seen many things like that in Star Wars. Like,
no.
The closest comparison I can make is in Attack of the Clones, when Anakin and Padme board that one to go to Naboo undercover.
Right.
But even then, that's more of just like a private jet type deal, you know? Like,
right. I mean, I think this particular ship, the Legacy Run,
mm-hmm.
right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was like bringing people from like the core worlds to like the Outer Rim, right?
Yeah.
And also just like a bunch of cargo.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and as the chapter goes on, we get a little more fleshed out about the history, like we were talking about, of the captain, whose name is Hedda Cassette. Again, interesting, because new perspective, right? Like, we haven't seen a captain that's an old woman who's had this experience in the military in Star Wars much at all. Right. And this chapter, Mike... This chapter ends
except for Leia, man.
Well, yeah, I just mean, like, as a practical, like, boots on the ground. Like, Leia ran her ops, you know, but, like...
True.
Cassette sounds like she's seen some stuff, you know, like...
She definitely has seen some stuff.
So, the chapter ends with the ship being destroyed, being torn apart after going through hyperspace. It's really... interesting, and makes me think, especially with how the final sentence is, that right. It has implications for the whole book.
Did you read the IGN article that accompanied this?
I did not. Is there a little more insight there?
There is a little more insight there. So the IGN article here says that this is actually like the catalyst for the entire book. Soule said this to IGN. This excerpt is our first look at the moment that changes the High Republic forever. The destruction of the Legacy Run is the catalyst for a galaxy-wide disaster. Fragments of the destroyed cargo vessels begin flying out of hyperspace at super-accelerated speeds, meaning that deadly missiles of debris can appear anywhere at any time, from the Outer Rim to the core. In this moment of crisis, the Republic turns to the Guardians of Peace and Justice, the Jedi.
Interesting. So I wonder then, because we talked a little bit about this at the reveal of the High Republic, right? About exploring the unknown regions and what sounded like colonizing the galaxy, right?
Sure.
I wonder if it's not that context and it's more of a, hey, we have a responsibility to be on watch for this debris, this horrible thing. And then in turn, maybe if we have another Palpatine-like character pulling strings in the Republic, it's like, now I can plant my seeds in the outer regions, and we are technically still colonizing, but it's like under the guise of, oh, we're helping, you know?
True. I mean, I think it's interesting that the last sentence actually is so vague, because it doesn't necessarily say that nobody survived that.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder that maybe like the main protagonist has some sort of connection to this event.
Yeah, that could be interesting. And maybe, I know in some of the images for the comics and stuff, they teased this new enemy faction. I forget what they were called, but they looked like Mad Max characters, right?
All right.
What if the inhabitants of this ship, that maybe they get like locked in here and floating through space, have to like endure and survive and just become this rogue faction that wants vengeance or something? I don't know. Like, I could see them take a variety of different approaches with the whole survivor aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, the only thing against that theory is that it seems as though, according to Soul, that like this is like a pretty destructive event, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like I'm wondering, like, could anybody have survived that?
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess we're gonna have to read the book and find out, right, Christian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, overall, kind of intriguing. Gave me a lot more questions than I expected. I liked the fact that they were kind of like shifty about hyperspace. Like, they didn't trust it because like nobody knows about how it works or stuff like that. That's, to me, is super interesting and very Star Wars.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I didn't seriously pick up on that, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I think there's a specific.
Oh, I think they were more referencing to like these unknown lanes in the Outer Rim, right?
Yeah. Also, was like, I think there was a line about her looking out one of the portholes to see hyperspace, and she's like, if she wasn't being careful, she could get lost for 20 minutes, just like thinking in her mind about how many unknowns there are about how hyperspace works and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
And when everything starts to go down at the end, I think she says something to the effect of like, never trust hyperspace or something.
That's crazy.
So it is cool, right? Because 400 years, yeah, altogether doesn't seem huge, but in the span of like science and knowledge about things, I feel like that can be pretty major.
It gets like it puts the rest of it puts like the Star Wars that we know into context a little bit, and I think that's one of the main things that we're going to get out of this book is some context in the canon now, because there is a lot of Legends context,
right?
To the movies that we know and love.
Yeah, it was not too long ago before we figured out tracking through light speed that we discovered how light speed works, you know?
Exactly. We just learned that. It's almost like we're regressing here.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool though. I just wonder though if like anybody survived that and whether or not they are maybe connected to this book in some way.
Yeah, I also wonder if there might have been, because again, we know eventually the Sith rise to power, so there is a Sith that is alive right now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's Plagueis. I don't know how long he lived for, but would be interesting, you know, if like maybe what happens here was planned by the surviving Sith at the time, and they knew it eventually lead to the High Republic colonizing, making more things making more planets and species and civilizations join the Republic, so by the time the prequels roll around, you have a army ready to go at so many different outposts in the galaxy, you know?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be Star Wars without some guy with a red lightsaber, right? So
yeah,
No, I'm just
So.
kidding. There are definitely Star Wars books about guys with red lightsabers, but yeah, I mean, I think there's got to be some sort of nefarious agent here. There would be no reason for our heroes, I assume, to go on whatever journey they go on.
Yeah, because when they pitched it, it seemed very much like a person versus nature story, because they were talking about the unknown regions and exploring so much, similar to Star Trek, right? But with this, and like choosing to lead with this, it seems like the wars of Star Wars are not completely gone, you know?
No, it looks like there's chaos in the galaxy.
Yeah.
The Jedi have to maintain peace and justice.
For sure. So, did this get
yeah.
you more or less excited for the High Republic right now?
I was like already pretty excited for this book, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm pretty hyped. It looks awesome.
Yeah, me too. I'm ready to see where this story continues, because it's an interesting opener for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like it's interesting too, because like Charles Soule, he normally writes comic books and stuff, so it's cool to see his style like writing prose in this way, I guess.
Yeah, definitely, it's cool. Well, I think that is gonna do it for episode 37 of Jedi Knights. So again, surprised by how much there was to talk about this week.
I know, crazy.
Mike, it's a pleasure as always. So if you would like to shout anything out right now, feel free to do so.
You can follow me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors. Always shout that out. You know.
Very nice. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, it's at Chris N. Buckley. If you're watching us, you're on youtube.com/joyclicks, where there are tons of other things happening currently. Lots of reaction streams lately, because we got millions of events in the games industry to break down.
We just did one.
We did, yeah. We talked about the reveal trailer for Squadrons, you, me, and Kevin Diaz. And then later that week, me, Jack Martin, and Kevin did the EA Play event, which also featured some Star Wars stuff.
For sure.
So you can check those out on the channel. But if you're listening to the podcast on audio services, or you would like to do so, you can find us on a lot of them, including Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you can rate us or review us on that application?
Yeah, application. Platform.
Thank you. Please do so, especially if you enjoy the show. Share it with a friend.
So are we gonna have Master and Apprentice read by the next time, or what's going on here?
So where are you right now? How's your pace going?
I'm like halfway through it.
I'm about halfway also. So if you're feeling a little uneasy about it, I'm fine bumping it up another week.
We can bump it up another week. Let's do that.
All right, cool. So not the next episode, but the following episode. The first episode we record in July will be the recap of Master and Apprentice.
Sure. Yeah, so, exactly.
Look forward to that, and then probably by the end of that episode, we'll have another book figured out for the next month. But
this is fun. I like the book club.
I do too. I love seeing more about Qui-Gon. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So
we gotta save that conversation.
Absolutely. So until then, though, we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the Force be with you.
General Kenobi.